Hello and good afternoon, and welcome to the brand spanking new first time ever version of my new live and podcast, Speaking the Truth About Money with Martin Cowart and Joy, the Wise Woman. You're looking at both right now. And before we get too far into this, I want to start with introducing you to a story of how I came to know Joy, the Wise Woman. It was during the darkest time of my life. I would call that the dark night of my soul, or the dark night of the soul. And it was only a few years ago, actually, it was in 2018, when I was literally had gone from being a top producer with a fancy office on the 44th floor of a beautiful high rise in Manhattan with a gorgeous view of Manhattan to top producer, great guy. And then, quite frankly, with the election of Donald Trump as president, I was in so much fear because for me, he represented the bullies who made fun of me as a kid for being not a normal boy. So from my perspective as a gay man, he was the bullies of the world who were now in power, and it scared me to death. So what happened was my mindset, my belief about, I went into so much fear over this that I went from being this top producer to literally within months on the edge of bankruptcy, because I was in so much fear and pain. I couldn't attract a new client. I couldn't service an old client. I didn't want to be around myself. I was so miserable. And I was at home one day. I've been working with my spiritual teacher and my coach for a while on this dark night of the soul that I was in this big financial fall. And there was a day when I was particularly in a dark day, and I was all curled up on the sofa, just giving myself one of the darnest best pity parties in the world. I was all feeling sorry for myself and thinking, they're going to come take my car, come take my house, and they're going to go bankrupt. And why me, and all this stuff we all go through in these difficult times. And I spoke to my spiritual teacher in the middle of all that. She called me to see how I was doing, and she listened for a while, and she said, "Martin, I hear you in a lot of trouble. I know you. I know what's in trouble. But here's the moment. Here's the moment for you. You got to look inside. You got to practice what we know in the world of contemplative prayer as surrender. It's a spiritual truth where you literally get on your hands and knees and you say, I have created this gigantic mess for myself. I don't know what in the world to do. I am hopeless. God, please help me." That's what I did. I'm surrendering. I'm giving it to you. I am totally surrendering this problem. I know I created it. I'm the one that made this mess. Nobody else made it. I did it. But I am going to I am in so much pain. I don't know nothing else to do. I have got to give this to you because I know I've been familiar with with this part of myself for years. I've been a meditator for over 40 years. So I knew exactly what she meant for me to do. I just had never actually gone through it before to this degree. But I'll tell you something. As soon as I finally just really got at the gut-wrenching place where I just had to friggin' let it go, as soon as I got to that place where I just had to let it go. Well, hey, David, how you doing? So glad you could come here. Thank you for joining us today. Great you're here. So finally, it just got to the point where I had to let it go. I just didn't know what else to do. I was miserable. And I'm pretty close to my coach and my advisor. And so I just did it. And you know what? This is going to sound a little crazy, but I'm telling you, it's the truth. All the truth. As soon as I really let it go, this almost like this blanket of love and deep comfort fell over me. And I felt myself almost filled up, if you will, with so much power and peace and presence that I was like, wow, what just happened? And this voice inside of me said to me, Martin, listen, none of this stuff matters. None of this. Hey, Scott, how you doing? Good to see you. Glad you got to come on and be a guest on here one day. I'm just telling my story right now, how I met Joy the Wise Woman. That's what I'm doing. I'm telling you about who Joy the Wise Woman, how I met her. And it was in my darkest moment. And so this, as I was saying, I was all of a sudden I had found this place of just complete peace and power just descended on me. And it was like all of a sudden it was like that burning bush moment you read about in biblical story. I mean, I'd always kind of had it, but I never had anything quite like this happen. And all of a sudden, this voice came up in me and said, Martin, none of this stuff matters. It doesn't matter that you're rich and successful, that you've all this that I spent so much time on, getting to be so successful, climb the ladder and all this nonsense. None of this stuff matters. It doesn't matter that you make a lot of money. It doesn't matter that you're important. It doesn't matter if you get certified with the Mankind Project. All this stuff that you're so worried about, so none of that stuff matters at all. As a matter of fact, you don't have to do anything for the rest of your life except one thing, and that is to show up in every single moment with a place of love and gratitude, and I will do the rest. And you know one of the most powerful statements of all biblical times, be still and know that I am God. That's the I am we're talking about. I will do the rest. I named her Joy because I felt so much joy in that moment from being relieved from all this prison almost of anguish and turmoil and emotional attachment to money, that I just felt so much joy and relief that, oh my God, the freedom that came out. Now, I'd like you to think that all of a sudden Joy and I went skipping off into the woods and we had a wonderful life. It wasn't quite like that. I had to go through a little bit more darkness than that. But I will tell you this, I got to, over the next few years, up into a few years, and still continuing it, by the way, I began to devote my morning practice into getting intimate to what I call self-love, getting to know that part of me, getting to know that joy, getting to know that part of me that I now call Joy the Wise Woman. Joy the Wise Woman, we all have a Joy the Wise Woman within us. We all have an avatar. We all have a part of us that is the divine. And what we can do, particularly as we begin to become aware of this part of ourselves, we can begin to develop a relationship, a loving relationship with that part of ourselves as a part of us that can guide us through life, because that is really what's living through us. And as an everyday mystic, which we all are, all mystic means is that we are aware of the mystical experience of life that's within every single human being. But we have so many shadow beliefs in front of us, usually some version of I'm not good enough. We often can't connect with this part of ourselves. But once we connect with it, everything changes. Everything changes. We change the way we view ourselves, the way we view God, and the way we view the world. We're no longer this separate entity struggling and trying to make our way in the world. We're actually divinely created, and our essence is that creative essence of love. What we are is everything you see. And if you don't think we have, if you look around, just look around at the power within all of us to create something. And that's how money is created, by the way. That's how wealth is created, real wealth. There is no big pile of money up there in the sky, some finite amount of money that we've all got to claw our ways to get our fair share of in order to make it in the world. That is nonsense. What there is a creative genius within each and every one of us that can create enormous amounts of wealth if we find a purpose in the world to make the world better for others, if we find our sole purpose in order to make the world better for the world. And that's what we do. We come into service for a better world. So the first thing we change our view of ourselves. We realize we're powerful, creative beings. And as we begin to realize who we are, we begin to see the creator in us is who we are. We no longer see God as this judgmental man in the sky who's checking us off to see if we're going to get to heaven or not. The creator is a loving, benevolent energy force that's creating everything we see and do. And that's who we are. And when we begin to experience that, not just think about it, but when we actually begin to experience that as who we are, everything changes too. And finally, when we know that we are this powerful, loving, creative being, created by the same powerful, loving that we are, then our whole perception of the world changes from one of being scarce and not enough, and I got to get my own share, to a world of an abundance of possibilities. One of my favorite examples of this is Oprah Winfrey. Oprah Winfrey and I are almost the exact same age. I'm 66 and she's 66. We were born in 1954. She was born in the deep South like I was. She was born in Mississippi. I was born in Georgia, South Georgia. I was born of fairly privileged white folks, college educated, wealthy white folks. So my chances of some form of success, I was already successful. I was already privileged. I think the same for Oprah. Oprah grew up as a poor black girl in Mississippi. But Lord, she tapped into this Joy the Wise woman at some young age, and look what she has done. She has created wealth and an enterprise and an empire of billions to serve the planet. That's how we create wealth. That's how we create money. That is the truth that is speaking the truth about money. The only thing I can tell you about money that I know to be absolutely true is there is an infinite supply when you tap into this infinite source of creativity within ourselves. And that is what speaking the truth about money is going to be about. It is going to be about tapping into that part of ourselves that knows the truth. I call it heart space. You see, there are two mindsets. There is the scarcity mindset, which is just the ego thinking mind alone, which doesn't really know anything. It just knows what it's experienced, but it's always the negative of the truth. So if it's attacking you for not being smart, not being good enough, not knowing what to do, that's fine, because it doesn't know. It's all it knows. So it's all it knows. And we need that, by the way. We need that friction, if you will, that shadow to reflect against in order to navigate this planet as human beings. We couldn't just navigate as pure love, light, energy, because we need challenges. We need stuff to grow, to grow the human experience, if you will, to expand the soul within the human experience. So the shadow is that opportunity that presents challenges for us and things for us to work through and discover the truth of who we are. So the scarcity mindset is not a bad thing. It's just what happened. But the thing is, we need to hit against it, like I did in my dark night, in order to challenge it, lean into it, and say, okay, is this true? Is it true there's not enough money? Is it true I'm not enough? And we said, no, it's not. It's something much bigger than that going on. So the scarcity mind has a belief system. It's just the mind, and it believes that there's an infinite supply of resources, including money, to go around, and I better dog my way to the top of the pile, do whatever I can, step on whoever I can, and get my fair share of the pile so I can have a wonderful, full life. And you know what? People are miserable. I did that for years. It's all driven by fear. It's all driven by fear. And there is an alternative way of seeing the world. And that is called the abundance mindset. And the abundance mindset includes heart space. And heart space is where Joy the wise woman resides within us. It's a still point within us that knows the truth. It knows the truth. Heart space knows the truth. And there is an abundance, infinite resources, including money. The one thing I can say about money is infinite. We can create as much as we want. Everybody could be a billionaire if they want, if they so choose. As long as they're doing what Oprah's doing, going out and serving the planet. So find out what your purpose is. Find out who you are. Find out what you're here to do. What is your unique ability on this planet to make a difference? And I'll tell you something. I was talking to someone the other day, and they were like, "Oh, I got all this. I got all this to do. I got all this. I can handle it all." I said, "You know what? Once you tap into your infinite source, once you tap into your joy, the wise woman, you will be amazed at what you can get done in a day. Look at the world. Look how much we get done in a day. Look at what we're creating. We're co-creating that together as humans. And I can tell you this, I look at the end of my day and I am just like blown away by all that I accomplish every single day with so much ease and joy. And I have all the time in the afternoon that I need to spend time with my family and my loved ones. Yesterday, I spent 2 hours getting a massage. And I'm getting more done than I've ever done in my life once I tapped into the truth of who I am. Joy the wise woman. So that's what we're going to be doing on this show. Because when we're all connected to this deep resource within ourselves, when we're all aware of our authentic true nature, which is creative love energy. We're all energy anyway. This is all scientifically proven, by the way. I'm not talking about, I know this all sounds so woo-woo. I'll tell you something about things that sound woo-woo. All problems are solved with things that sound woo-woo. Because problems are solved from that creative energy, so we can't quite put our finger on. We just experience it. And I'm just here to share with you my experience of this new awakening I guess I might have in myself. So, because when we live in that scarcity, we just get more scarcity. We find ourselves curled up on the sofa in pain and sorrow and bad victimhood for feeling sorry for ourselves because we don't have enough for ourselves. And we have bought the lie. We have been living in the lie, and we have bought the lie. And guess what? So is our culture, and so is our society. We have built for 2,000 years economic systems and social structures that just benefit those who are willing to do anything it takes to gain power. But that is all come to an end. We're still working our way through it. But what we went through last year was what I'd call a collective dark night of the soul. And fortunately now, in America anyway, we have finally, for the first time in history, we have got leaders who lead with empathy, who lead with compassion, who lead with truth, who lead with competency, and love to, by the way, Martin. Thank you for telling me that. I love to talk to you. Who lead from a place of truth, compassion, and competency. And what a difference it makes. I don't know about you, but I go to bed every night feeling so much better. I feel like we have a government that actually cares for us. This is the first time I felt this, by the way, in a long, long time. I'm a gay man. And when the AIDS crisis came in back in the 80s, and my friends were dying, we discovered the crisis was bad enough that our friends were dying from this unknown disease. But when the government, our government, we pledged allegiance to as good little boys and girls in elementary school, didn't give a rat's behind about any of us, and we had to go out and march in the street and act up, I learned then that we did not have a government that cared about us. And that dark cloud has been over us until this year. And this year, when I was going through pride, and I was extremely proud because that dark cloud was finally gone. We finally had a government. I could go to bed at night knowing we have a government that cares about me, that cares about the people they govern. And that just feels good. We have a government that has created the opportunities for capitalism to work. Because let me tell you something about capitalism. The truth about capitalism is not either good or bad, but it's gotten a very bad name because we have lived with capitalism combined with a scarcity mindset for so long that capitalism itself has received a bad name. It's not a bad name. Capitalism is simply an opportunity in a free market for everyone to participate in the profits of their enterprises. And if we're going from a place of an abundance mindset, that means everyone. So, and when we get a government in place that are enacting laws and institutions and creating opportunities for everyone to participate, then everyone can participate in this abundance way of thinking, in the way of living in the world. And there's a huge movement going on right there. There are millions of us. I'm just one of many. I'm just one of millions. I'm just one of millions who've come into what I want to call the abundance mindset movement, the prosperity living movement. And I'm welcoming you into that. Because everybody's welcome to this banquet table. Every single person is welcome at the banquet table. Because scarcity is not real. It is a lie. It is a lie, and governments have been used it for years to control us. Political, religious institutions, the Roman Catholic Church, all of them, quite frankly, have used this illusion that they are in control of everything, including our connection to the divine, which is within all of this ridiculous. But we're changing that. We're changing that conversation. A few years ago, right after Trump became president, I went to hear Marianne Williamson. She's, most of you probably know her. She's probably one of the most well-known spiritual teachers in the planet today. She even ran for presidency. And I'm glad her voice was on stage, but she didn't win president. She's probably not the best person for president, but she's a really good spiritual teacher, and her voice is certainly welcome in that audience. So I'm glad she ran. But I went to see her in January of 2017, shortly after Trump had become president, at the Marble Collegiate Church. I wanted to hear what she had to say. I want to hear what she had to say about this new president, this new bully in my imagination, in my mind's eye. I want to know what she had to say, what the Course of Miracles had to say about this. So I went. It was a packed house, a packed church, because everybody loves her, and she's got tremendous wisdom. And at the end, she always does. She comes out in the audience and gives a little Q&A session. And I got her into conversation with her. I had to, I'm a speaker, and I got to get in there somehow, And I got into there with her, and we came to the conclusion that the root cause of all the financial problems in the world and all the unnecessary pain, there's a certain amount of pain and suffering we're going to have to go through as human beings. But the unnecessary pain and suffering, the root cause was the scarcity mindset. This lie, this false narrative of they're not enough narrative. And I was feeling pretty good about myself, because here I am, in front of all these people with a microphone in my hands, getting along with this spiritual teacher so well. We're having this great conversation. So finally I said, well, Marianne, now that we know what the problem is, how do we solve it? And she said, well, this is what we got to do. We have to change. We have to have the courage, she said. We have to have the courage to change the narrative of how we talk about money to the truth of abundance. Now, be careful what you commit to one of the most prominent spiritual teachers in the world in a packed church. Because I said to her, I am going to do that loud and clear. And since then, I have been on a mission to eradicate the scarcity mindset from the planet. And that's why I've created my coaching practice, Financial Heart Space. Financial Heart Space, by the way, Heart Space stands for the kingdom of heaven. I'm a spiritual teacher, And what I know, and I follow the wisdom teachings of Jesus. Many people don't even know that there are such things as wisdom teachings because they got so obscured by the religious institutions that wanted control. But the truth of the matter is, Jesus, just like Buddha, was here as a teacher to higher levels of consciousness. What Buddha called spaciousness, Jesus called the kingdom of heaven, because that's what spaciousness is. It's a higher level of consciousness, free from all the drama and all the pain and all the worry and all the nonsense that goes in our little ego thinking minds. So what he taught was a path to the kingdom of heaven. And what I teach in my coaching programs and all that I talk about is a path to financial heart space. And the reason why I call it financial heart space is because one of the most difficult obstacles to getting into heart space is our beliefs and our emotional attachments to money, called the scarcity mindset. So if we can get rid of the scarcity mindset within ourselves, starting with ourselves, we can't start with anybody else but ourselves. But once we eradicate that from our own existence and from our own way of being, which I have gratefully done for myself, and there are millions who've already done this. And that's why I'm here to talk to you. But once we do that, we can all begin to dance in a world of love, of joy, and prosperity. We have an opportunity to really, truly be in heart space. Like Jesus would say, the kingdom of heaven is at hand. It is not a place we have to go. We're already here. We came into this place. We came into this world as human beings out of abundance. And we're going to leave in abundance. And we're going to create out of abundance. And that's what we are. The Gospel According to Jesus by Paul Ferrini. That is so funny. Oh. Yeah, the Gospel According to Jesus, Martin Coward. But that's the deal. And that's what we're here about. And so I'm so excited to make this my my premiere launch of my live show called Speaking the Truth About Money with Martin Coward and Joy the Wise Woman. And I'm here and I'm excited, and we'll look forward to you being with me going forward. If you have any questions or you'd like to know more about me, I have 2 Facebook groups that I would love anybody. One of them is called the Financial Mystics Sanctuary, and everyone's invited to join that group. It's called the Financial Mystics Sanctuary. It's on Facebook. I am a spiritual teacher and a coach working with gay, transgender, and bisexual men, business leaders. And to work with our own particular woundings around the world. And I have a special Facebook group, especially for us. It's called Financial Heart Space for Gay, Transgender, and Bisexual Men. And you can find that if you're part of that demographic, if you're part of that tribe, I would welcome you into that group as well. And it's not that I'm being exclusionary. It's just that we have gay men, we have our own woundingness around worthiness. We have our own stuff, if you will, we need to work on, and we need a safe sanctuary to do that. So that's what Financial Heart Space for Gay and Transgender and Bisexual Men is about. It is a sanctuary, a refuge, a virtual refuge for gay, transgender, and bisexual business leaders to love and support one another. So if that's what you're about, please join us in that group, and I'd love to have you come be part of that. And every Wednesday, I do a live workshop on different things to help us grow and build our businesses. And what I bring into that is all the spiritual wisdom, spiritual truths, to financial planning, to problem solving, to running our businesses. So that the person that runs my business, the part of me that runs my business, is Joy the Wise Woman. And Martin has learned, get out of the way. Just show up. Martin just shows up like I am right now, with love and gratitude, and I let Joy the Wise Woman do all the work. And I tell you what, as I started doing that, why, God, has my life gotten more exciting. My God, has life gotten more exciting. And that's what I want for you, and that's why I'm here. So I want to thank you so much for tuning in to me today, and you are just wonderful people. And we are going to create this movement to eradicate that scarcity, masculine, male-oriented, me way of thinking, to a place of living in a place of love and joy and compassion and empathy and truth. That is so much more fun. May love and prosperity prevail. Thank you for joining me today.